Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Beyond Our Ken, a Hong Kong film from 2004 that could be classified as an anti-romance because it revolves around a broken romantic relationship. So our lead character, played by Gillian Chung, was recently dumped by her boyfriend, played by Daniel Wu. So she enlists the help of his current girlfriend, played by Tao Hong, to assist her in breaking into his apartment for the purpose of deleting nude pictures of her that are on his computer. That's the premise, which is fairly simplistic, but that does not stop Beyond Our Ken from being one of my favorite Hong Kong movies of all time. Now, one reason for that is that this has a lot of the positive qualities and characteristics that one would associate with an art house film, but it's still conventional enough to be widely accessible, fun, and relatable to mainstream audiences. This is very art house in its presentation and style, framing of shots, camera work, vibrant color, lighting, locations, and sets make this kind of a feast for the senses. This film looks fantastic. I even liked the street location shots they did. It's really nice to see. Another artsy aspect of it is that it uses a lot of visual communication for the viewer and subtle references to develop the characters and their relationships. You have to pay attention to this movie a little bit, to little details, because there are some really interesting scenes later in the film that call back some of this stuff that happens early on. So something, an event or an image or something might seem kind of inconsequential early on, but is accentuated as the film moves along. So the script writing in this is really impressive, I think. But like I said, Beyond Our Ken has some very conventional aspects that make it fun to watch for movie fans who may not be fond of artsy films. At its core, this is really a revenge movie, told from the perspective of a girl who was dumped by her prior boyfriend, as well as the relationship that she develops with her ex-boyfriend's current girlfriend. So in terms of the revenge angle, there's actually some really fun mission sequences in this, involving the protagonist's attempt to break into Daniel Wu's apartment. One of my favorite scenes is this really long, fairly long, mission involving the duplication of the key to his apartment. So they try to steal his key, duplicate it, and then give it back to him without him noticing, because they'll need it to get into his apartment later. And that scene is just so much fun to watch, because things obviously don't go quite as planned, and it ends with a really interesting hide-and-seek sequence in a grocery store. It's just fantastic. I can't do the scene justice by explaining it. It's just great. There's a lot of female bonding in this film as well, but it's portrayed in such a way that is detailed and mature, and male viewers can understand and appreciate it. So I've seen this movie a dozen or so times over the years, and it's riveting every time I watch it. And part of that, one reason for that is because of the relationship and the female bonding throughout the film, which is, I think, portrayed very well. And it's for these very reasons that I think Beyond Our Ken is a great gateway movie for people who want to, they want a dose of that art house style, but still want to have fun with it and spend time with protagonists who are relatable. And unlike some of the other art house films out there that kind of bathe themselves in pretentiousness, for lack of a better term, Beyond Our Ken observes a perfect control of creating motion picture art, so to speak, while avoiding meaningless patches of nothingness. You know the films I'm talking about. The artsy films, that some of which I actually really like. And maybe they have stuff that just doesn't add anything to the film. Everything in Beyond Our Ken seems to be for a purpose, and I like that. Now, this movie is also quite different and subtle in its portrayal of romantic relationships. The vision of this film is very refreshing and a lot more cynical than your typical romance or romantic comedy. It kind of throws away the sickly sweet romantic fluff that you see in romances and romantic comedies. But it's also level-headed in its cynicism, because no one really comes out of this movie looking all that great. You know what I'm saying? But it executes this vision in a very charming and entertaining way. Performances are great. Gillian Chung is one half of the canto pop duo Twins, but she also broke into acting at around the same time that her music career took off. First time I saw her, was in a very cheesy vampire film called The Twins Effect, also known as The Vampire Effect in the US, a movie that I enjoy a lot more than I probably should. I need to do a review of that one at some point. But in any case, Beyond Our Ken is the best exhibition of this woman's acting talent. She's very good in this, and it's still probably the best performance of her career. Now, Tao Hong is a shamelessly underrated and underappreciated actress who can just light up the screen. She's really something special, I think. Unfortunately, her filmography is extremely small. And the only other film of hers that got a US release, either DVD or streaming, was Life Show from 2002, which is another very good title that I would recommend. Now, this actress had everything to be a major superstar. She's really beautiful as well. But it never happened. You know, she never reached superstar status or even close to that. And that kind of irritates me because I want to see a lot more of her in films, but she hasn't really been in much. And she, man, I don't know when her last film credit was. On IMDb, it might be back from 2009 or something. So she's done. And it's sad because she's really good. But we have this film to admire her with. Daniel Wu also shines nicely here as the boyfriend that every woman would love to hate. His filmography, very hit or miss filmography with him though. But he has been in some good stuff over the years. One of my favorite roles of him was as the villain in New Police Story from 2004. But I also like him in the recent television series Into the Badlands. There's just something about him that I like. His screen persona or his charisma. Maybe it's just pure charisma and screen presence that I like him. And as if that weren't all great enough, the score and the soundtrack are phenomenal in this movie. You get some classical music, some quirky, upbeat, cute music, some Italian music. There's a great Italian song in this, etc. You know, the soundtrack for this film has never been available as a separate purchase ever, to my knowledge. And it's one of my holy grails that I just will never get. You know, this is one of those soundtracks that I desperately need in my collection, along with Green Tea, which has a phenomenal score. My favorite romance film, too. And the Ryohei Kitamura film, Sky High. I love the soundtrack to that movie, but none of those were ever released separately. So yes, the music in Beyond Our Ken is also great. And finally, we need to talk very quickly about the director, Ho-cheung Pang. This man is not that beloved in the West for some reason, despite being a very reliable director with multiple newer classics under his belt. He's probably most well known for his pretty graphic horror film Dream Home from 2010, which is very good. But I think Beyond Our Ken and Isabella are his career highlights because in those two films he perfectly blends the art house and mainstream filmmaking aspects together just so well. Although most of the titles in his filmography are worth watching, in my opinion. So Beyond Our Ken is one of my favorite films. I highly recommend it, and it's available on Region 1 DVD in the United States. And as always, I'll see you next time.